Hi there everyone, Selezen here. Welcome to the update for the 20th of July. This is the elite encounters update, sorry I should have said that. But you know what it is by now, it's on the screen, you know what you're looking at. You know who I am, you know what it is, you know why I'm here. Shouldn't have to tell you after all this time, should I? So, without further ado, shall we carry on? Yes, let's. Okay, this week, progress report. This is our agenda that was sent out earlier today, hopefully you got that. If you're watching this on YouTube, then obviously this will be the first time you've seen it, possibly. But yes, progress report. That sort of comes down into miniatures and graphic design as well. I'm not going to go through the list, you can see it on the screen. I'm going to have to try and stop this reading out what's on the screen thing, because that's bad presenting, apparently. So yeah, that should be enough time for you to read that. So I'm going to go into the first item, which is progress report. So, the writing side of things has been a difficult week. One thing I will say is a reason / excuse, if you want to call it that, for this week has been that I have been mid-project at my actual day job. So that has meant some rather late finishes and sort of quite a lot of headspace being devoted to that. So I have been held up at work most of the week doing some of this stuff. So it has kind of impacted on the writing side of things. So as I've said before, there's quite a lot of the writing side of things that needs to get done that needs to be longer than just a couple of hours worth of work. It needs me to get my head right into it and spend a good few hours on it, so not really had much of a chance to get that done this week. But what I have done is, as said in last week's update, I've revised the hand-to-hand combat and made a few small adjustments to it just to make it as clear as possible. So that's pretty much that as far as that's concerned. I'm pretty sure that's me happy with the hand-to-hand combat and the entire sort of personal combat / major system information for that. So I should be able to write a line underneath that or draw a line underneath it at some point soon. Minor record file update, as I mentioned last week. Changed the mod box for an ADJ box and made the adjustments to the text in the book. Hello Edorin, sorry, and thank you Bubble Map Gaming Live for hosting me. That is very kind of you. Appreciate it. You're a star, dude. Yeah, so the minor record file update is pretty much all that's been done on the sort of character side of things, the characterization side of things. Most of this week's focus has been on the artwork for the game. I've sadly lacked time to, not the time to do it, but I've sadly lacked the. No, what am I trying to say? Come on, somebody, give me some words. My dictionary seems to be offline. I've not devoted as much time as I should have to some of the artwork side of things, is what I'm trying to say. I spent a lot of time in Elite Dangerous screenshotting some ships to use for assets in the book, which as you can see on there is miniatures and ship info sheets. The ship info sheets being the sort of posters, the double page spread I have in mind, full colour ship image with all sort of nice bits of information about the ship all around it, including game stats and so on. So we'll move on to that part of things there and then. Some pretties for you. So what I've done using those screenshots that I grabbed is I have started to lay out the miniatures and how the counters and so on are going to look, and how I can use those to create custom skins and custom images for those ships, which is part of the part of the Kickstarter pledges was doing custom ships and the ship counter sheets. I'm seeing how easy that'll be. One of the main things I was going to do was actually rather than use the images themselves, I was going to use them to trace around and create custom graphics custom vector graphics. But I've come to the realization that doing that is going to take 3 times as long. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm essentially just using the ships, the images that I've grabbed, and seeing what I can do post-processing wise in graphics packages to make the changes to those images themselves, because they will be, rather than go over them, trace them and create the same images again, why am I doing that? That's just going to take far too long and is really an unnecessary exercise. So the plan is to create the default designs using just the images from the game, from the computer game, sorry, and see how they go. Now the images should be fairly high resolution anyway, because I'm grabbing them at 4K resolution in the game, so I have a variety of options for how to use the scales. At the moment the images you see on the screen there, the hexes you see on the screen there, are using 640k sorry, 640 pixel scale for each ship, which is fairly big when you're reducing it down to a very small counter image. It's way high enough resolution for it. I've done a bit of a test print of it today and it seemed to come off quite well. It looked quite good. My printer's not that great, so obviously it wasn't as good as it could be, but taking the printer's resolution into account, it was pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Hex sizing issues. I am not sure at this point in time what size to make the hexes for the counters for the game. I was going to go with 25mm, which is 1 inch from flat edge to flat edge, but that's quite small, and you lose quite a lot of the detail on the ships, and it can tend to make them look kind of samey. So I'm not sure whether to go with that size for compatibility with the majority of gaming products out there, because most of them seem to be 25mm hexes. But I'm not sure whether I'm going to go with that, or actually just use a custom size or another size that is common in the gaming industry. I'm researching that at the moment. That's kind of the last task I was doing today, in fact, was trying to research how big the common hex grids are. Surprisingly hard to find information about. You do a search for size hex grid or something similar like that, or gaming hex grids, and you get quite a lot of reviews of different computer game methods of doing hex grids, but not much to do with thingy. It's Mr. Junks. Hello, Mr. Junks. Thank you for joining us. So the other issue, as well as it goes along with the size, is showing the ships that's on the counters themselves. As you can see, quite a few on the screen there. Quite a lot of the space is filled up by the image. And it makes it difficult to put a constant or a consistent location for the counters, for the stats. What I was going to do is have little cut-offs coming in from the edges with the numbers in for each thing and colour code it and so on, but that's not really going to work as a consistent method of showing it, so I'm not entirely sure what to do on that at the moment. One option I did have was have a second hex for each ship that has a description of the ship, plus maybe a small, really small thumbnail, which would match the picture on the main hex and actually make that the stat for the ship. The other option I've got is to have like a card, an information card for the ship, and have the hex as part of that card. So essentially, rather than cutting out from a grid like you can see on the picture on the right there, rather than having to cut that out, what you would have is a card that has the hex built into the card, and you cut the hex out using a knife or using a template. Now that's another thing that I was thinking about, is there are die cut machines out there, like the Selezen do machines that do this sort of thing, where you can put a hex template over something, run the roller over it, and it cuts the hex out. Obviously not everybody has one of those, but it's one option that I'm thinking about. So yeah, so I'm not entirely sure what way to go with that one. I'm going to see what works best, and I think I'm actually leaning towards the card idea. Have a full card of information for the ship with the hex built into that card, and I was thinking something like business card size, so it would be quite small. You get quite a lot on a page. You're not going to waste space on that page with that, and you have the option then you can put the hex back into the card when you finish with it. Trying to think about ways to do that. There's a lot of options I'm thinking of at the moment for that, but that's something that's very much in progress at the moment. The other thing I'm looking at is 2.5D miniatures, which is my way of saying it's like a hex with a stem that comes up, which joins onto a side view of the ship with a notch cut in it, and then into that notch you slot the top view, which gives you a sort of cruciform profile from the back and front. But from the top you've got a top-down view, and from the side you've got a side view. Mr. Junks has just asked in the chat, could you not put stats on the rear? Yes, but as you can see from the images on the screen, there's not a lot of room actually on there, and that's not the entirety of the images. There's an Imperial Clipper, not the Imperial Clipper, the Diamondback, for example, comes quite close to the bottom of the thing, and there's not a consistent place where it could go and look tidy. I did try putting numbers big enough to read and be able to work out whether they are movement rate or maneuver rate or something like that, with either different colours or a coloured background or something like that, and it's actually quite difficult to make out the colours and the information that's on there, especially with the ships that may be longer and will sort of go closer to the back of the image. So I'm not quite sure. Whatever looks tidiest, but as a good suggestion, Mr. Junks, I will certainly add that to the list of things to try, or options to make it happen. If that ends up being the good one, then I'll probably not give you credit, because I'm a get that way. On the other side. Oh, you mean on the underside of the token? Ah, I see what you mean. Ah, right, yeah. Yes, that's a pretty good idea, but then you can't really see it, because when you've got your counter on the tail, that means if you want to look at what the stats are, then you have to pick it up and look at it, and then put it back where it was. And if you're not using a hex grid, if you're just using movement, using a ruler or something like that, then it's going to be quite difficult to work out where to put it back, unless you put a marker there, like a golf tee mark or something like that. But it's, again, certainly an interesting idea to look at. It also means that the person who's making their counter is either going to have to fold and create that counter themselves by folding the counter over and gluing it on, or we'll have to do double-sided printing, which can be quite difficult to line up properly, and that's a kind of logistical thing that I don't want to get too far into. So, but yes, thank you for the idea. I'll put it on the table with everything else and see how it works out. It's obviously an option, and I like options, so that's great. Yeah, didn't think of that one, so thank you. As I was saying, 2.5D miniatures, and we're going to do these hex base with the stem coming up onto a cruciform view of the ship that can be dismantled and put away again. I'd like to do that. I certainly have enough screenshots and information to be able to do that as part of the pack. It was something I did actually play with as a little animation during the initial Kickstarter campaign. Whether or not it's going to be easy to do logistically, because I have tried 3 or 4 different methods of doing that with the resources that I have and resources I can obtain, and it hasn't brought out the best quality. The problem is that with things being printed on just ordinary paper, sort of personal, sort of low-grade cutters that are affordable on the level of funding that this project has are not coming up with the best results. So it's kind of a work in progress, that one. That's why I'm looking at sort of scaling things up a bit, because if there isn't an issue with scale and people are okay with having the bigger counters, then I have no problem with making them bigger, and hopefully that should make it easier for the cutters that I'm using to cut those shapes out. Obviously looking forward to the point where, if the game gets that far, when it becomes a professionally produced thing, so like we get taken on by a publisher, or we find there are more resources out there that we can use, then that would be something I would certainly consider as being an option, is to maybe put them onto like solid plastic card, that kind of thing, that can be cut out with punch presses and so on. But that's looking at way down the line at Major League production, if we're going to go into like 10,000 runs, that kind of thing. So yeah. And lastly, on their custom paint jobs is something I'm going to be looking at as well, different methods of doing the custom paint jobs on top of the images that are there. The 2 options I'm looking at for sort of way out there paint jobs would be obviously drawing right on top of that model, creating like a base colour model, and then using the shadow maps and stuff that are on there to use to layer the information on top of, using a paint package. What I've done for the images on the right, on the left, sorry, the white and the yellow sidewinders. The yellow sidewinder is it's a, how would you describe it? I've used a paint package to alter the colour settings on it, and it works pretty well actually. It works really well, especially at the resolution that we're looking at for these ships. But obviously it's a work in progress, and something I've given a lot of thought to, and only really just got round to sort of doing the practical side of trying it out. And it does work, because I'm sure you'll agree that yellow sidewinder looks pretty good, even though it's been messed around with. So I'm quite happy with that. Okay, that's that then. So the to-do list that I showed you last week, we're still on the same list. Tighten up the hand-to-hand combat, obviously lined out because that's been done. Drawing a line of the character generation, avatar, record sheets and general system is, I think, done. I'm going to give it a proofreading through and then see how it goes from there. Again, still looking at the vehicle combat as far as the actual writing side of it's concerned. I'll be honest, I have struggled with the miniatures rules, because I'm trying to make them accessible and as detailed as I can get them, and it's the introduction I'm having a difficulty with at the moment, trying to actually get that bit started and say, right, this is how you set everything up, this is what you need, this is how you play it, this is how it's meant to run, blah de blah de blah, and then sort of going from there on to describing the nitty gritty of the rules themselves. So I bet it's awkward. It's one of these things, I'm going into it, I'm writing it, I'm rereading it, and I'm thinking that's crap, rewriting it again. So trying not to get into this sort of thing of trying to be objective and say, right, is it okay the way it is, or does it read right shit? And even just being very, very objective about it, it still reads like shit. So I'm going to get to a point this week, hopefully, with where it's readable, and hopefully readable from my point of view. and see what we can go from there. And then obviously playtest, which is things that are coming up as well. The online groups that have run in the past with me, the Lave Radio group and the 30th anniversary group as it was originally called, we'll be getting back on track with some playtesting between me and them over the next few weeks. So keep your eye out for that. That'll be obviously streamed live online as well, and you can watch that and see how you think things are going. And I'm hoping there should be some element of miniatures rules in there by that point as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Again, this week, not much in the way of feedback and questions. And more questions actually on the chat this evening than I have for the last month, which is fair enough. If there's no feedback, there's no feedback. If no questions, I'll take that to mean that either people aren't reading it or listening to it, or that things are going fairly well. So I'm happy. Yes, Caleb Dark's been silly again. Thank you, Caleb Darkin. Hello and hello. Okay, the next thing coming up as far as events are concerned, from the Elite Encounter side of things, is I am going to be doing a 24-hour charity stream in support of Marie Curie Cancer Care and their work looking after people who are affected with cancer or affected by cancer. I will be doing a 24-hour stream on the 12th of September. Anyone who wants to pop along and say hello and even pop on the stream, if you want to do that, you are more than welcome. The more viewers the better. Obviously if you donate, that's better as well. The one link I haven't put on there is the link to the charity thing, but if you go to the daftworks.co.uk website's main page, all the links are on there for it. So yeah, I'll be obviously putting some stuff on there that raises awareness and lets people know what Marie Curie do and how it affects people. I'll be playing some games, probably mostly Elite Dangerous, but I do intend on ramping through another few games that I've got as well. And I'll probably stream a few hours of working on the RPG, because I don't want this to get in the way of the important RPG work. So I will do some stuff online on the stream related to the RPG, whether that be writing, which is fairly boring to watch to be honest with you, not very interactive, or graphics work, or even just mucking about with 3D stuff that needs to go in, because obviously there's a few pledge levels that will involve some 3D models to be done. So there. Oh my god, my wallet, lol, not another one. Well hey, somebody's going to buy the game, that's always good. Yeah, guest stars and giveaways. I'm waiting for word back from people on whether they would be happy to pop into the stream, have a bit of a chat with me, keep me going, keep me awake, or offer anything for donation to people who are going to be on the stream. So I'm hoping they'll come back with some stuff I can give away. That'd be great to sort of give something back to the community who are being so generous and have been so generous so far. I mean, I've not done much in the way of awareness of this stream or the main charity thing at Fantasticon, other than asking people to publicise it for me. And they have awesome people that they are, like Kate and Mad Dog and Fiery Toad and everyone have been putting some stuff out. So appreciate that for them. But we've already raised over 400 quid, which is fantastic. So I'm hoping we can push that and get as far as we can. Yay. Okay then, that's essentially it. Next week's update will be on the 27th of July, Monday again, 8 PM UK time as usual. Update at the start of the stream as normal. So all the links you need for how to get hold of me are on the bottom there, if you just let me know. If you pop on there and do whatever you want to do. That'd be great. So thanks for watching. For everyone else who's on there, I'll be on in a few minutes with the Monday night Elite Dangerous stream, where I'm exploring out towards the Horsehead Nebula. Thanks to the guys in chat for being in there. Caleb Dark, thank you. Mr. Junks, thank you. Another good idea there from you. And thank you DazzyD1977 for all your offers of donations and buying RPGs and stuff. Okay, thank you very much, and good night.